After a group of friends use a cursed tarot deck, they confront the dark side of fate. As members are killed one by one, the remaining friends must find a way to break the curse or face their own demise. For her birthday, Elise's friends rent a remote mansion to celebrate. During their game, Grant walks out when the group votes him and his ex-girlfriend, Haley, as the couple most likely to marry first. He claims he'll get more beer, and Paxton offers to help him. While they're gone, Haley confides in her female friends about her recent breakup with Grant, citing his lack of ambition as the reason. She desires romance, which Grant dismisses. From his perspective, he believes he's too ambitious for her. Paxton, ever the supportive friend, suggests they take a pottery class or start a book club. Grant continues searching for beer, uninterested in the idea. However, he finds only one can left as they've consumed most of it. Haley suggests getting more from the store, but Paige volunteers to have it delivered. Grant disapproves since they're in a secluded area. Paxton proposes searching the mansion for more liquor, believing it must be hidden somewhere. During their search, Lucas notices a door with a keep out sign. Ignoring the warning, he breaks the door and the group enters a dingy basement filled with bizarre collections. Elise opens a chest and pulls out a vintage cloth. Haley recognizes it as a divination cloth and concludes the basement contains old astrological objects. Paxton finds a small chest with an occult symbol. Inside, he discovers a deck of cards and suggests playing poker. Upon closer inspection, he realizes the cards are for tarot and retracts his suggestion. Elise urges Haley to perform a tarot reading, and the group agrees. Despite her initial refusal, Haley is convinced, especially since it's Elise's birthday. Later, in the living room, Haley lights candles and opens the chest when a gust of wind blows in, causing the floorboards to creak. Alarmed, Haley forbids continuing the reading, emphasizing it's an unspoken rule not to use someone else's deck. Elise dismisses the warning and volunteers for a horoscope reading. Haley pulls the High Priestess card, explaining that Elise is climbing the ladder of success. However, the card is reversed, so Haley advises her to slow down to avoid a crushing blow. Next, Madeline takes her turn, and Haley pulls a reverse the Hangman card, foreseeing technical difficulties due to Mercury retrograde but advises her not to panic. Haley invites Paxton for a reading, but he declines and heads to the bathroom. Paige then takes her turn, and Haley draws a reverse the Magician card, warning her about deceptive tricks hindering her clarity. Upon Paxton's return, his friends coerce him into a reading. Haley pulls a reverse the Fool card, advising him to avoid impulsiveness and feeling trapped. Lucas takes his turn, and Haley pulls a reverse the Hermit card, implying poor judgment. She warns him to be cautious as he often goes all out for love, advising him to stay focused. Finally, Grant begrudgingly sits for his reading, expressing skepticism. Haley calmly explains she uses the deck to read the stars and proceeds with his horoscope, pulling the Devil card. She advises him to be understanding in relationships to avoid destruction. Grant, perceiving a reference to their failed relationship, urges Haley to read her own horoscope. Haley pulls the Death card, leading Elise to ask its meaning. Haley informs her friends that love will be the death of her. The following night, the group returns home safely, but their inevitable deaths loom. Elise, in her dorm room, hears a loud thud at her door while on the phone with Paige. She investigates, finds the attic's ladder lowered, and hears giggling. Assuming it's her dorm mates, she climbs up but finds no one. Suddenly, she senses movement, and downstairs, the lights flicker. She sees candles in the shape of her star sign, Libra, and the High Priestess card appears. The incarnate screams at her, causing her to fall and get bludgeoned to death by the entity. The next day, Elise's friends are informed of her death, believed to be accidental. Paige mourns, especially since she was the last person Elise talked to. That evening, Haley volunteers to stay with Paige. Paige awakens from a nightmare involving Elise, blaming herself for not saving her friend. Haley comforts her, sharing that she has experienced a similar situation with her mother's death, which pushed her to pursue tarot. Haley encourages Paige to stop blaming herself, as fate cannot be changed. Lucas accompanies Madeline home. At the subway, he encounters flickering lights and a silhouette, which turns into darkness. Fearful, he enters a restricted train yard and finds a newspaper predicting his death. The Hermit appears, and Lucas hides in an abandoned train but is eventually hit by a speeding train. The next morning, the police interrogate Lucas' friends. Madeline regrets not inviting him to stay with her. Paxton finds his death strange, but the officer insists there are no signs of foul play. The group tries to decipher the incidents. Madeline suggests it's a coincidence since Lucas and Elise's deaths occurred on consecutive days. Initially skeptical, Haley realizes fate plays a huge role and connects Lucas' death to his horoscope reading. Grant remains disbelieving. Despite Grant's opinion, Madeline supports Haley's theory, reminding the group they might be next. Haley browses for a solution and discovers Alma Astrom, an astrologer with articles about the dark side of fate. They decide to contact her for help. That night, the group visits Alma's residence. Initially, she tries to drive them away, but Haley explains their impending doom due to the tarot readings coming true. Alma eventually lets them in. Inside, Alma demands to see the deck, but Haley admits she used someone else's. Alma recognizes the description and recounts that people who used the same deck in 1951, 1961, and 1988 mysteriously died. She reveals she's the sole survivor of the 1988 incident and had tried to destroy the deck, but it was sold at auction. Alma shares the deck's history, belonging to an 18th-century Hungarian astrologer who foresaw the Count's wife and unborn son's death. The Count ordered her to change it, but their fate was sealed. After their deaths, the Count accused the astrologer of witchcraft, leading to her daughter's death. In vengeance, she performed a dark ritual, binding her soul to the cards and cursing them with death. Haley asks how to stop the curse, and Alma advises destroying the deck. On their way to the mansion, Madeline's horoscope manifests, stopping their car on a bridge. A hangman game scribbled on the windshield urges her to run. Madeline sprints out, followed by Haley. The hangman captures Madeline, and she's found lifeless by the group. Terrified, they run. Paxton suggests returning to campus, but Paige and Haley refuse. Grant advises destroying the deck, but Paxton decides to leave, not wanting to be dragged into the disaster. Paxton enters an elevator and encounters the Fool. He contacts Grant for help, but their line gets disconnected. The Fool distorts its appearance, scaring Paxton. The elevator lights turn red, and the entity barges in through the ceiling. Haley, Paige, and Grant return to the mansion, retrieve the box, and try to burn the deck, but it's ineffective. They plan to contact Alma. Alma arrives, and Haley reports Madeline's fate. Alma explains the astrologer embodies the card, bringing the final outcome to life. Alma arranges a ritual to summon the astrologer. During the ritual, the astrologer appears, and Alma urges them to hurry. The astrologer controls Alma's body, and Alma receives the Six of Swords card, sealing her fate. Alma apologizes as an unseen force pulls her into the dark. The group flees, and Paige gets separated. She enters a room where Haley's call for help lures her to the basement. She follows Haley's voice but finds no one. The light bulb explodes, distorting her eyesight. She enters a stage and encounters the magician, who binds her feet. Despite her helplessness, the audience finds her suffering entertaining. Paige hides inside a chest, but the magician pushes it onto the stage and saws her in half. Haley hears Paige's scream and realizes her friend has succumbed to her fate. The couple discusses their failed relationship, with Haley revealing that the stars don't favor them. Grant suggests they are cursed, prompting Haley to consider a way to deal with the astrologer. She proposes reading the astrologer's horoscope to curse her. Grant disapproves of the plan, fearing it will worsen their situation. Nonetheless, Haley insists on pursuing it, drawing strength from her mother's determination. The demon seizes Grant, transforming into death. Haley faces her fate and hides, but the entity tracks her down. She attempts to flee, but death finds her. The entity grabs her neck, but Grant strikes it. Haley hasn't finished the reading, and death recovers. Grant urges Haley to read the astrologer's horoscope. Haley prepares the deck while the demon drags Grant into a portal of flames. The astrologer reverts to her original appearance and approaches Haley. Despite the danger, Haley implores her to let go of her past. The astrologer ignores her and grabs her neck, only to discover that Haley has pulled the death card for her. The zodiac will activates, consuming her. The curse is lifted as the cards burn. That night, Grant and Haley reconcile. They encounter Paxton, who survived his encounter with the Fool. They all agree never to use tarot cards again.